Now, family members of the teenager believed to be connected to a disturbing shooting in Clayton County are doing their best to change the public perception of that 16-year-old. Atlanta News First, Alani Latang is live tonight outside the sheriff's office in Jonesboro after speaking with that teen's cousins tonight. Alani?
Blair, the cousins tell me that Laquan Stevens, just 16 years old, is a caring man and who went through unfortunate events these past years. And they also say they don't know where he is right now.
He's a good kid, he just been through a lot.
The family of 16-year-old Laquan Stevens says he's a caring young man who's had a tough life. Police accuse him of shooting another young person in the face on Saturday night in Lovejoy.
It's unfortunate that this happened, and we're also praying for the other child, too.
Police also allege Stevens shot at a home last August.
All over the world, these children is out of control. And the thing about it is, what are we going to do to stop this? How can we stop the gun violence? How can we save the youth so good kids like Laquan don't get mixed up and lost in the system?
Very, very great questions. So of course I did a like a video when it was breaking news that it was a manhunt for Laquan, and I do have another clip coming up here, very short one, that he had, been turned in by a parent, which I feel like it's a smart thing because that's going to keep him, because they were saying he was armed and dangerous. So that's going to just keep him from being harmed or, being approached by police and them feeling like they have to use like deadly force against him or anything like that. So, it was big that, a parent, you know, was able to, turn him in. And, of course they have to see as far as what happened with the person who was shot, who they're accusing him of shooting. But, as she was saying, what are we gonna do about it? My thing is talk to them. Um, you know, you can't sit here and ask these questions when you really can't. It's like a rhetorical question. You know the answer. Talk to them, communicate with them, let them know, this is not the way to go. This is gonna land you right in jail or in the ground. You know, you have to just be straight up with them about these things because it's coming up into a society to where even at that young age they're influenced by what they hear and what they see. So the answer to that question is like, you know how can we save the youth? Talk to them, be more of an influence on them than the music that they may be able to listen to or the videos that they may be looking into. It's simple as that. And that may not be simple for some kids, but for a large majority of them, the reason why they act out and they rebel is, of course, because they go through things. Of course, it's because they see things and are influenced by things, but they don't have anyone in their immediate family or immediate friend group or, just anyone around them um, that they can see, something different from. You can't just leave it on rappers and influencers and whoever else they may be giving their attention to or looking at in order to raise them or in order to influence them, because they're going to influence them down the wrong path. So, I feel like she's asking these questions, but I'm pretty sure she already has the answer to these questions. And, where they getting these guns from, they're either getting them from, older adults, they're either stealing them, you know. Um, those are two of the main two places where they can get these things. They maybe being brought in or influenced to join a gang by older individuals, and then they're given a gun and they're told to go do this, go do that. And again, they could be stealing them out of cars, breaking into homes, stealing those guns. It's a multitude of ways that these kids are getting their hands on these guns. So
And then I want to know, where are they getting these guns from?
Steven's family says he's the oldest of 8 siblings. He graduated middle school, now getting good grades in 10th grade. They say the teen has been through trauma in the past years. They say his family's home caught fire in February 2023.
They got my kids out.
His dad and all 8 children made it out safely, with 2 of the young children having to jump out of the second-story window. Family telling me Stevens' mother has been sick for years, living in the hospital, waiting for a heart and liver transplant. They say Stevens has been helping his dad and blind grandfather take care of the kids.
Yeah, so there's definitely, a lot of traumatic stuff to be going through at such a young age. Your mother's sick, waiting for a heart, and other organ transplant, and family home burns down to the ground. These are very, very traumatic things, but my thing is, um, and the oldest of 8, from what they're saying, you have to channel that energy somewhere else, because the way that you're trying to go about doing things or to get things, and again, I understand, you go through these traumatic experiences, but that's not, you don't use those things as like the motivation to why you go out and shoot someone else in the face allegedly, or God knows what else you're involved in, or being on social media, posting guns and stuff like that, because that's the quickest way to get that same type of attention to come back to you. So, and she's gonna say that he's far from armed and dangerous, but I mean, maybe she hasn't been looking at his social media posts that they had on the news, where he had a gun clearly, and he had a song playing, and he was just showboating the gun. So, again, family's gonna have a certain view of you because you're family, and that's the problem. You not really diving in deep to who this person has become. They could be sweet, loving, and caring as you remember them, but then, a whole lot could change with them over the course of a year, maybe even less than a year. So, again, you maybe ask Laquan directly how he got the gun. Why is he on social media posting guns with songs and things like that? Why is he running with the crowd that he's running in instead of just staying the course, learning all he can and putting himself into a position where he can really help his dad and his blind grandfather and stuff like that. Feel like a lot of stuff is kind of being thrown out there for sympathy and stuff, but you still have a kid somewhere laid up in a hospital trying to recover from being shot in the face, you know.
Quan is a sweet, loving, caring young man, and he's far from armed and dangerous.
Armed and
No,
dangerous is
it
what
was
the
on the
sheriff's
danger
office
for
is
sure.
calling Stevens, activating their fugitive squad to bring Stevens into custody. At last update, the victim in Saturday's shooting is still in the hospital.
And it's just sad. And prayers for the other young man.
Yeah, it's just sad, but the only thing you
Concern
can say is, prayers for him and stuff like that. But he wouldn't need prayers, if your cousin hadn't, as he's accused of doing, don't know if he did it or not, but as he's accused of doing, shot him. So, you know, got to take some type of accountability. I didn't hear any accountability from whatever that cousin was saying. And again, very sympathetic with the fact that them losing their family home and mother, definitely, needing transplants and stuff like that. Definitely empathetic and sympathetic about that. But at the same time, you know, that type of that can motivate someone to go out there and want to be the best that they can be, because they don't want to let their family down. They know that they're the oldest in the situation, and this ain't the time. These ain't the days that people can just go into the streets and think they're gonna just make a whole bunch of money in the streets and be able to take care of their family without looking over their shoulders or having to be worried about apprehended by the cops. So. Again, I didn't hear any type of accountability from that family member. And instead of asking those questions to the general public or who you being interviewed by, those questions need to be asked to Laquan directly himself, for his own situation, so you can get a better understanding of his psyche and what he has going on in his own mind.
About him tonight, hoping that when he is brought in, it is without incident. And police tell us that they're still actively searching for Laquan Stevens, and if you see him, to call 911. Reporting
tonight, the manhunt is over for a teenager deemed armed and dangerous in Clayton County. The sheriff there says 16-year-old Laquan Stevens was turned in today by his father. He is accused of shooting a 14-year-old in the face on Saturday night. We're told Stevens could be charged with aggravated battery. He is also accused in a shooting that happened last August.
So, being charged with 2 shootings, the person he shot was 14 years old. I mean, again, just throwing his life away before it can really even start. You're a teenager. Things are hard now. You're going through a lot of trials and tribulations now. But that is what's supposed to build strong character, and it's supposed to build a will within yourself to go out and try to do great things because of everything you have went through, you know. And you're really just putting a lot more blocks up on your life than, you should, because, you're going through like tough times. So, and I get it, man. Just not try to judge his father or anything, because his father did the right thing as far as turning him in. But maybe it's a lot more, deeper to him and his father's relationship or things like that. Or having 8 siblings, that's a lot of siblings. So and you being the oldest, once you get to be the oldest and you have siblings under you, a lot less time, attention, and resources are going to go to you, and more so towards your younger siblings. So there's a whole lot that can be unraveled or unpacked from this whole situation. But we'll see, as time goes, what charges he'll have, and just where they go from there. So just let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole situation, and make sure you hit a like on the video for the algorithms, and of course subscribe to my channel. Again, this is Justin Paul. Peace.